Picture this. Willow Creek, HO, in one of those cookie-cutter suburban paradises where every blade of grass is measured twice and every welcome mat must be approved beige or face the wrath of the board. On paper, it looked peaceful. White picket fences, sparkling community pool, monthly newsletters bragging about neighborly harmony. In reality, it was a kingdom ruled by Queen Karen Thompson, our HOA president for 15 glorious years. Karen smiled like a church lady at every meeting, voice dripping honey as she quoted the covenants. But crosser, or worse, exist outside her inner circle, and suddenly your mailbox was stuffed with violation notices thicker than a phone book. That was my world. My name is Rebecca, and for 10 years, I've been the quiet resident in Unit 47, the tiny in-unit townhome that somehow attracted every petty fine Karen's board could invent. A dandelion? $250. Car left in the driveway 2 minutes past the guest parking only rule? Another $300. Christmas lights still up on January 2nd? You guessed it. Violation letter delivered personally by Karen herself with that fake sympathetic head tilt. We all have to follow the rules. Dear. No exceptions. Except, of course, for her precious daughter Jessica, whose lawn looked like a golf course even when it hadn't been mowed in 3 weeks, and whose backyard parties somehow never triggered a single noise complaint. I learned the game early. When I closed on my place at 22, fresh out of college and drowning in student loans, Karen cornered me at the welcome coffee hour. Rebecca, now that you're a homeowner, it's time to stand on your own 2 feet. The board won't be playing favorites. You'll figure it out. Her husband Ben, the treasurer, nodded like a bobblehead. Jessica smirked from the snack table. Already living in the oversized corner lot home the board had fast-tracked for family reasons. I swallowed the rage, smiled politely, and went home to my cramped kitchen where the fridge door literally banged into the cabinet every single time I opened it. That was the day I realized Willow Creek wasn't a community. It was a hierarchy, and I was at the bottom. The years that followed were a special kind of hell. I worked 2 jobs, day shifts at the insurance office, nights stocking shelves so I could keep up with the mortgage and the endless fines. Other residents threw pool parties and posted Instagram stories of their HOA-approved backyard makeovers. I ate instant ramen for dinner 3 nights running and prayed the roof leak wouldn't worsen before I could scrape together the repair money the board refused to help with because maintenance is the owner's responsibility. Every time I drove past Jessica's house, I saw new patio furniture, a hot tub, even a custom pergola that somehow bypassed every permit requirement. Karen's explanation at the board meeting? Family hardship case. We have discretion. Discretion. My ass. It was favoritism wearing a name tag. But there was one person who kept me sane. Grandma Mary, the 78-year-old widow in the house at the end of Maple Lane. She'd been in Willow Creek since the gates first opened and had more money than the entire board combined from smart investments decades ago. Severe hearing loss meant she spoke at restaurant volume all the time, but we texted like crazy. Every few months my phone would buzz, sending a little something. Dear, don't let those busybodies win. $2,000 would appear in my account like magic. I could finally buy textbooks back in college days, or later fix the leaking roof, or just eat real food instead of crackers for a week. I'd text back pages of gratitude. She'd reply with heart emojis and proud of you. Sweetheart, education and a roof over your head are the only investments that matter. Grandma Mary was the only one who saw through the Karen show. She'd quietly slip me cash to pay fines so I wouldn't lose my home. Without her, I would have been foreclosed on twice. Meanwhile, my actual family was mostly absent. Mom and Dad had moved to Florida years ago and only called when they needed something. Jessica kept posting, grateful for the best parents ever, while I watched from my tiny living room that smelled like mildew on rainy days. Fast forward to my 30th birthday. I texted Grandma Mary inviting her over for a quiet cake in my place. She replied she wasn't traveling well, but had already given my gift to Karen and Ben to hand over at the next board gathering. I figured it was something small and sweet. When the gift arrived via Karen at the community picnic, it was a cheap crystal vase. From Grandma Mary with love, Karen cooed, batting her lashes. I smiled, thanked her, and went home wondering why on earth Grandma would send something so impractical for my cramped space. A month later, my phone rang. It was my cousin Evelyn, another resident. Rebecca, you're not going to believe this. Jessica just threw a massive housewarming for her new upgraded corner lot home. 50 people. Everyone was asking where you were. My stomach dropped. What new home? Evelyn's voice softened. Oh, honey, you really don't know? Karen told everyone you're too introverted for big parties and busy complying with covenants. But the real kicker? I overheard Karen whispering that you're bitter and jealous because Jessica could afford such a nice place young. I sat there staring at my phone while the world tilted. Jessica, part-time barista, same age as me, suddenly living in a 3,000-square-foot dream home with a garden and 2-car garage. Where did the money come from? I called Jessica directly. She laughed. Come on, Rebecca. You know you hate crowds. When I pressed about the money, her tone turned ice cold. The bore helped me out. None of your business. Click. The next 3 months were torture. Jessica's Instagram was a non-stop flex. So blessed to have parents and a board that believes in me. Every photo of her gourmet kitchen or perfect backyard felt like a slap. Meanwhile, I was still dodging Karen's newest violation. My mailbox flag was apparently 2 inches too tall, $150 fine. I paid it with the last of Grandma Mary's previous gift and wondered how much longer I could keep this up. Then the anniversary invitation arrived. Karen and Ben's 35th wedding anniversary party at the clubhouse, 40 residents. Elegant tables, open bar, the works. The Facebook post listed the date and venue, but somehow forgot to message me directly. 3 days before the event, Grandma Mary texted, "Feeling better? Can't wait to see you at the party. Dear, it's been too long. My heart soared. Finally a chance to hug the one person who actually cared." The day before, Karen called. "Rebecca, we've had to reduce seating. You don't really need to be there. Come by the house another time to congratulate us." I stared at the phone. In the old days, I would have cried and stayed home. But Grandma Mary was expecting me. I sent the anniversary gift by courier instead and decided I was going anyway. Saturday evening, I put on my best dress, drove to the clubhouse, and walked into a room of 40 perfectly coiffed neighbors. Grandma Mary sat at the head table in a stunning blue dress, looking regal despite her age. The moment Karen spotted me, panic flashed across her Botoxed face. She rushed over, hissing, "What are you doing here? I told you not to come. This is for bored families." Before I could answer, Grandma Mary's voice boomed across the entire room like a foghorn. "Rebecca, my beautiful girl, come sit next to me right now." Every head turned. Karen's smile froze. Ben's face drained of color. With 40 pairs of eyes watching, they had no choice but to escort me to the table and make Jessica slide over. Grandma squeezed my hand. Now, this is a proper celebration. The dinner started normally enough. Toasts praised Karen and Ben as generous community leaders. I sat there listening to lie after lie while Grandma kept whispering how proud she was of me. Halfway through the main course, after the filet mignon had been served, Grandma Mary turned to me, voice loud enough for the whole clubhouse to hear. "Rebecca, how do you like living in the beautiful upgraded home I gave you for your 30th birthday through the HOA Assistance Fund?" The entire room went dead silent. Forks froze midair. Conversations died. You could hear the ice clinking in water glasses. I leaned toward her ear and said clearly, "Grandma, I don't know about any home. Karen and Ben gave me a crystal vase from you for my birthday." Grandma Mary's face went from confused to cold fury in 2 seconds flat. A vase? What vase? At that exact moment, I heard two forks hit plates simultaneously. Karen and Ben had both dropped their silverware. Their faces were the color of skim milk. Ben's hands were visibly shaking. Grandma Mary turned slowly toward them, voice somehow even louder. Karen, Ben, I want an explanation right now. Where's the $60,000 I wired you 3 months ago to upgrade Rebecca's home? I sat with the realtor. I signed the papers. I gave you the keys to hand to her on her birthday. Where's that property? The silence was so thick it felt like the air had turned to concrete. 40 neighbors held their breath. Karen tried the smooth voice. Mary, maybe we should discuss this privately. No, Grandma Mary cut in, loud enough to rattle the chandeliers. I want to know now. I trusted you because you're the board. I gave you that money specifically for Rebecca. Explain. Ben stood up, chair scraping like nails on a chalkboard. His whole body trembled. We gave the upgrade and the property transfer to Jessica instead. Gasps rippled through the room like a wave. Someone's wine glass clinked hard against the table. A woman behind me whispered, "Oh my God." Jessica jumped to her feet, face flushed scarlet. That home is mine now. I've been living there for months. You can't take it away. Grandma Mary rose slowly, every movement deliberate and dignified. She motioned Karen and Ben forward with one finger like a queen summoning peasants. They shuffled, overlooking like they were walking to their own execution. Grandma pressed her hearing aid and leaned in close. Her voice dropped to a fierce whisper only they could hear. But their faces told the whole story, getting paler by the second. Ben nodded frantically. Karen covered her mouth like she might vomit. After 2 excruciating minutes, they stumbled back to their seats looking like ghosts. Ben cleared his throat, voice cracking. Everyone, thank you for coming. But we need to end the party early. It's time to go home. Chairs scraped. People gathered purses, whispering furiously. Snippets floated past my table. Did you hear that? They stole her house money. Poor Rebecca. What kind of board is that? Karen's perfect smile had shattered into 1,000 pieces. Grandma Mary gathered her purse, tired but determined. Rebecca, dear, I'm coming home with you tonight. I refuse to stay under the same roof as those people after what they've done. That night, Grandma Mary and I sat in my tiny living room until 2 a.m. She told me everything, voice still booming even in my small space. I wired them $60,000 3 months ago. I worked with the realtor myself. The papers had your name on them. The keys were supposed to be given to you on your birthday. Instead, they handed me back a receipt for a vase and told me you loved it. We both started laughing at the sheer insanity, bitter, exhausted laughter that felt like release. She continued, eyes sharp. Your father, Ben, has been dipping into my personal account for years. Every time Jessica wanted new furniture, a new car, a hardship variance, they just transferred money and called it board discretion. I trusted them because I thought they were honorable leaders. I was wrong. The next morning, Karen and Ben showed up on my doorstep looking like they hadn't slept. Ben couldn't meet my eyes as he held out a set of shiny new keys. These are for you. The upgraded corner lot home. It's yours now. His voice was barely above a whisper. Karen stood behind him, mascara smeared, saying nothing. I took the keys without a word. What was there to say? They'd been caught red-handed in front of the entire community. No amount of fake apologies could fix 30 years of stolen opportunities and public humiliation. A week later, I drove to my new home, the one that had always been meant for me. It was beautiful, spacious living room, modern kitchen, little front yard with flower boxes, 2-car garage. But inside I could see Jessica's touch everywhere, lavender walls, pink accents in the kitchen, her favorite throw pillows still on the couch. I spent the first weekend painting over every trace of her. Soft gray walls, warm beige, colors that actually felt like me. I planted a vegetable garden in the backyard. The kind Karen had always denied me a variance for because vegetables attract pests. Now, she couldn't touch me. Word spread through Willow Creek like wildfire. Neighbors who had once avoided me started waving. A few even dropped by with housewarming gifts and quiet apologies. "We had no idea," they said. "We thought you were just difficult." Karen's monthly board meetings suddenly had empty chairs. People stopped clapping when she spoke. Jessica's Instagram went strangely silent. No more flex posts. No more blessed captions. 6 months later, the transformation was complete. My garden was thriving. I'd hosted my first small dinner party with actual friends from the neighborhood. And best of all, every other weekend, I drove to visit Grandma Mary. We cooked together, watched old movies, talked for hours. Last month, she squeezed my hand and said, loud as ever, "You're the granddaughter I always hoped for, smart, independent, honest." They tried to raise Jessica to be entitled, but you turned out different despite everything. I haven't spoken to Karen, Ben, or Jessica since that night. I don't miss the fines, the whispers, or the constant feeling that I was never good enough for their precious community. The upgraded home is truly mine now. I've even added a small flagpole, exactly 3 inches taller than the covenant allows, just because I can. Karen drove past once and pretended not to notice. Sometimes the most painful betrayals lead you exactly where you were always meant to be. Sometimes losing the family you thought you had, whether blood or board, helps you find the real one. And sometimes the loudest truth in an HOA comes from the quietest resident who finally decides she's had enough. But let's rewind a little, because the real story isn't just the dinner explosion. It's everything that led up to it. The slow, grinding years of watching Karen rewrite the rules for her own blood while the rest of us bled money and dignity. Take the summer of 2022. I wanted to install a simple solar panel on my roof to cut electric bills. Submitted the variance request with all the paperwork, photos, and engineering stamps. Karen's board took 3 months to respond. Denial letter cited aesthetic disruption to neighborhood character. Meanwhile, Jessica got approval for a full outdoor kitchen complete with pizza, oven, and fairy lights in under 2 weeks. Special family circumstance, the minutes read. I sat in that meeting biting my tongue so hard I tasted blood while Karen smiled and said, "We have to be consistent, folks." Then there was the mailbox flag incident. Mine was a small American flag, perfectly regulation size. Karen personally delivered the violation notice. "It's 2 inches too tall. Rebecca, take it down or face daily fines." I paid the fine and took it down. 2 days later, Jessica hoisted a giant political banner that stayed up for 6 months. When I politely asked about consistency at the next meeting, Karen's answer was classic: context matters. Dear, Jessica's display promotes community values. The room actually chuckled. I wanted to scream. Every holiday, season the same dance. I put up modest lights, white only, no blinking, taken down by January 1st like a good girl. Still got cited for overly festive display. Jessica's house looked like the Vegas Strip every December and somehow never earned a single letter. Neighbors started whispering that I was the difficult one. Karen fed that narrative beautifully at every potluck. Some residents just don't understand the spirit of Willow Creek. I smiled, paid the fines, and kept my head down. Grandma Mary kept sending rescue money so I could survive another month. The house money revelation hit hardest because it confirmed what I'd suspected for years. The entire system was rigged. Grandma Mary hadn't just helped me with small amounts. She had quietly been the HOA's largest anonymous donor for years, earmarking funds for hardship residents. Karen and Ben had been skimming and redirecting every dime toward Jessica's lifestyle, while telling the rest of us to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. I started keeping records after the cousin call. Screenshots of Jessica's posts. Copies of every fine I'd ever received. Dates and amounts of Grandma's transfers. I never planned to use them until that anniversary night. But when Grandma Mary's voice cut through the room like a chainsaw through silk, I realized I didn't need them. The truth had done the work for me. After the party ended in chaos, several neighbors approached me in the parking lot. Mrs. Henderson from 2 streets overhugged me. "I'm so sorry. Rebecca, we all thought you were just dramatic. We had no idea the board was playing favorites like that." Mr. Patel, usually quiet, shook his head. "I'm calling for an emergency audit tomorrow. This can't stand." For the first time in years, I felt seen, not as the rule breaker, but as the victim of a much bigger scam. Karen tried damage control the next week. She sent a community-wide email titled "Clarifying Misunderstandings at the Anniversary Event." It was a masterpiece of gaslighting. Some private family matters were unfortunately aired publicly. The board remains committed to fairness. 3 residents replied, all asking for the audit. 2 more asked when Jessica's upgrade would be reversed. By the end of the month, Karen stepped down for personal reasons. Ben resigned as treasurer. Jessica quietly listed her old home and moved out of state. The new board, elected in a landslide of angry residents, passed emergency bylaws requiring public disclosure of all assistance funds. Grandma Mary's name was finally honored as the community's biggest benefactor. I wish I could say I felt only triumph, but the truth is more complicated. There were nights I sat in my new kitchen staring at the fresh paint and wondered how different my 20s would have looked if the board had simply been honest. No endless fines, no ramen dinners, no hiding from my own neighbors. But then I'd remember Grandma Mary's words that night in my old living room. "They tried to break you, sweetheart. Instead, they made you unbreakable." The sweetest revenge wasn't watching Karen's empire crumble, though that was delicious. It was the small, everyday victories that followed. I planted sunflowers along my front walk, bright yellow ones that Karen had banned for clashing with the palette. Neighbors stopped by to compliment them. I hosted a block party with actual music after 8 p.m., and no one complained. When a new board asked for volunteers to revise the covenants, I showed up with my binder of 10 years' worth of violation notices. They used it as Exhibit A for why the old rules needed to go. Jessica tried one last power move. She posted a vague Instagram story about toxic family members who steal opportunities. Karen liked it. I screenshotted it, laughed, and went back to planting tomatoes in the backyard garden I'd always dreamed of. The HOA fine that used to live in my nightmares never came, because the new president, Mrs. Henderson, personally called me to say, "Rebecca, plant whatever you want. The board owes you that much. Grandma Mary and I have a standing Sunday dinner now." She still speaks at full volume, and I still love every decibel. Last weekend, she handed me a new set of keys to a small storage unit she'd bought years ago just in case. Inside were boxes of my old college textbooks, childhood photos, and a letter she'd written the day I moved into Willow Creek. It read, "For the granddaughter I chose. One day the truth will set you free. Until then, keep fighting." I cried reading it. Then I framed it and hung it in my new living room, right above the spot where Jessica's ugly pink accent wall used to be. 6 months after the dinner, Willow Creek feels like a different place. The grass is still green, the mailbox is still beige, but the fear is gone. Residents actually talk to each other instead of reporting each other. The pool parties are louder, the flags are bigger, and nobody clutches their pearls when someone plants vegetables. Karen still lives here, downgraded to a smaller unit on the far side of the community, but she walks with her head down now. When our paths cross at the mailbox, she offers the world's weakest smile and scurries away. I just wave and keep walking. Sometimes I stand on my front porch at sunset, looking at the garden I built, the home that was always supposed to be mine. And I feel something I never felt under the old regime. Peace. Real peace. Not the fake community harmony Karen sold, but the kind that comes when justice finally shows up wearing the loudest voice in the room. The lesson? Never underestimate the quiet resident who's been keeping receipts. Never trust a Karen who quotes covenants while her own daughter breaks them. And never, ever underestimate a grandmother with perfect hearing when it comes to injustice, even if she can't hear a damn thing. Because sometimes the loudest truth in an HOA doesn't come from the board president. It comes from the little old lady at the head table who finally decides she's done watching her chosen granddaughter get robbed blind. And when that truth drops in a room full of 40 neighbors with forks in their hands, well, let's just say the silence that follows is the most beautiful sound in the world. I still live in Willow Creek. I still pay my dues on time. Every time. But now the dues actually go toward real community improvements instead of Jessica's hot tub fund. I've even been asked to join the new board. I politely declined. I've spent enough years inside the machine. Now I just enjoy the view from outside it. Every once in a while, a new resident moves in, young, hopeful, eyes wide at the pristine lawns. I make it a point to bring over a plate of cookies and quietly say, "Welcome to Willow Creek." The rules look fair on paper. Just remember, some residents are more equal than others. And if you ever need help, my door and Grandma Mary's is always open. They usually laugh, thinking I'm joking. I smile and walk away, knowing they'll figure it out soon enough. Because in every HOA, there's at least one Karen. But there's also always at least one Rebecca who finally stops taking it. And when the next anniversary dinner rolls around, I'll be there, sitting right next to Grandma Mary, with my upgraded home keys in my pocket, my garden blooming, and zero fear in my heart. Because the best revenge isn't loud. It's living well in the house they try to steal, while the people who try to steal it have to drive past it every single day and remember exactly who won. Thanks for listening to my story. If it made you angry, good. If it made you cheer, even better. Share it with every HOA resident you know. And remember, the next time your president smiles and says, "It's for the good of the community," check your wallet, check your mailbox, and maybe, just maybe, invite Grandma to the next party. You never know what might come booming out of her mouth when the forks are down and the truth is finally on the menu. Sometimes the quietest residents make the loudest statements. And sometimes the biggest Karen in the neighborhood ends up with nothing but a cheap crystal vase and a whole lot of explaining to do. The end.